Hi everyone, I am here today with the first reading wrap-up of 2018. Excuse how crappy I am looking, I'm not feeling well at all, but I've climbed out of bed to film this video because I want to get the new year off to a good start, and then I'll just climb back in bed and edit it in there. So yeah, I've had an excellent reading year so far. I read 6 books this week. The first book I finished this year is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling and illustrated by Jim Kay. This is my wonderful, heavy, now battered illustrated edition. I adored this. I will say I don't feel like there were as many illustrations in this as the first 2 books in the series, but that I really enjoyed this all the same. Reading it illustrated is still such a magical thing, and this is currently my favourite in the series. I've always sort of tied between Azkaban and Order of the Phoenix as to which is my favourite, but right now this one has that just because of this illustrated edition. But I forgot just how fantastic this book is. It's been years since I've reread this one, and I really enjoyed the lessons in this book. Like, I feel like this book, more than any of the others so far, really goes into details into what they actually learn at Hogwarts and what their classes are like and what their exams are like and what's expected of them on a typical school day and their homework. And that just takes me back to when I was a child and when I wanted to go to Hogwarts too. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. Snape's fantastic in this one. He's my fave. We've got Sirius. He's my favourite. Buckbeak. Buckbeak makes his first appearance in this, and I love Buckbeak so much. You've got Crookshanks. It's such a fantastic book. The Quidditch in this one as well is just outstanding. So yeah, if I didn't say already, I gave that one 5 stars, obviously. The second book I read this week was actually a graphic novel, and I've got a free trial of Kindle Unlimited for the next like 2.5 months or so. So I started checking out some graphic novels here and there, just ones that I've been interested in but that I haven't wanted to pay for because they are expensive. And so the first one I checked out using Kindle Unlimited was Lumberjanes Volume 1 by Noelle Stevenson. And this was cute. It's a graphic novel about a group of girl guides kind of thing that are called the Lumberjanes, and they're on like a summer camp kind of trip, and trouble seems to follow them everywhere, and there's a really strong focus on how their friendship gets them through all these adventures and all this trouble that seems to happen to them. And my main takeaway from this was that it was fun. I liked how strong the friendship was. The focus on friendship was fantastic. How everyone sort of pulled each other through was fantastic. It had a good child sort of teenage sort of like feel good feeling to it. Yet at the same time you can tell that there's like darker meaning in these books, and I'm sure it will progress more as you go further into the series, which I will be trying to do at some point because I did enjoy it. But at the same time I felt like everything got a little bit too ridiculous at times, like really unbelievably ridiculous in like a crazy and stupid way. And so I just had to knock off a star for that because it just felt a little bit too unbelievable at times for me and a bit too annoying and over the top. It's probably the best way of putting it. Yeah, I gave this book 4 stars. The third book I finished this week is a book that I have been reading for a good few weeks now and really enjoyed, and that is The Diviners by Libba Bray. This is the first book in a series. I'm definitely going to be reading the rest of the series because I absolutely adored this book and I gave it 5 stars. So if you're not sure what this series is about, it is a historical fiction with some supernatural and mystery elements thrown in, and it's a YA, basically. And you follow you get different sort of perspectives throughout the book, like different chapters from different people, but for the most part you follow the main character, Evie O'Neill, and she is moving to New York with her uncle, and it's the 1920s, so we've got like a strong flapper vibe, and you've got your speakeasies, and yeah, a really interesting setting. But on top of that, the thing that really made this book for me was the mystery sort of horror element. It blew me away. Naughty John terrified me. I mean, terrified me. I can't remember the last time a book scared me in this sort of way, to this extent. Like, I was scared to go to the toilet in the middle of the night while I was reading this, in the dark in bed. I was like, I'm scared to move, but you gotta go. Then when I did go, I knocked something over and made myself jump because I was terrified. And yeah, this book is just absolutely fantastic. It's so well written. The imagination involved, yet the research also involved, everything tied together in such a wonderful way was just phenomenal. I can understand why this series is so loved by so many people. It is just like fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. The characters diverse. I could keep going on about how fantastic it is. I just highly recommend you pick this up if you haven't already. That book has definitely made its way onto my favourites of all time. So then the fourth book I finished this week was another book that I got via Kindle Unlimited, and that was another graphic novel. I thought I'd try out Miss Marvel Volume 1, No Normal, by G. Willow Wilson, and I've heard quite a few good things about this, but not to the point where I've sort of researched it lots. So this surprised me. I gave it 4 stars. This book has a Muslim main character that comes from a really Muslim, like, really strong religious background family where, like, they care about the effect that this girl Kamala will have on the family, and like are very strict over her basically because she doesn't follow their rules and gets in trouble a lot, and they worry that she will disgrace their family. But basically Kamala has stumbled upon some sort of fog in this book. She's just a typical teenage girl to this point, and she ends up turning into Miss Marvel, is the very basic quick rundown. And the journey that she goes on through this book is just really fun, really interesting. There are deep messages within this. Like, this doesn't read as just a bit of entertainment. Like, there's deeper messages in there, and I really enjoyed that about it. I have been really desperate ever since finishing this volume to read the next volume, and indeed the rest of the series, because I am loving this. I can see again why this one has been getting so much attention, and if you've not checked it out, I highly recommend it because it's such a fun but also insightful and diverse and different read. Next, I read Being a Boy by Juno Dawson, and I loved this book, even though I'm clearly not in the target audience for this at all, because this book just talks everything about being a boy. So, like, covers puberty and, like, different aspects that you're going to need to worry about as you grow up, and how to deal with certain things that happen to you as a boy, and girlfriends and relationships and girls in terms of like how different we are. It's all there, and it's a really fantastic read actually. As I said, I'm not the target audience, but if I was, I think I'd still have loved this. I mean, I gave this 5 stars too. I've had such a wonderful reading week. I gave this 5 stars. It was just, I think that this is such a needed book. I feel like every guy should be given this book, is in like his young teenage years, or maybe even younger than that. Like, honestly, I think that this should like just be dished out in schools, quite frankly. The author did a lot of researching around the topic and made sure that everything was covered in a really sensitive way, but also not patronising, and yet also somehow really entertaining. I was entertained while reading this, and I also learned quite a lot about how in some ways guys growing up don't have it any easier than us girls. Obviously we have periods, but guys have their own issues too, and other things that they go through are just exactly the same as what we go through, and I feel like it's just really eye-opening to everyone involved, and I feel like everyone should read this. So then the 6th and final book that I read this week was Miss Marvel Volume 2 Generation Y by G. Willow Wilson, and I love this volume even more than the first volume. So again, I've got this on Kindle Unlimited, and I gave this 5 stars. In this volume you get a lot more action, a lot more of her sort of trying to get out there and take on her role, and learning what, like, how she has come to become in this situation, learning a bit more about her situation, bumping into another famous character who from the Marvel universe, and just spending some quality time with an amazing dog. I fell in love with this dog so much. Again, quite another famous character. So yeah, I just think that this series is going from strength to strength. I've heard that it gets even better as you go on and on and on, and I'm really, really desperate to try out the rest of the series, but I don't think the rest of the series is currently on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that, because now I just want to sit and read them all. Really, really enjoying this series. Possibly becoming one of my favourite sort of graphic novel series of all time. And yeah, I just highly recommend it. It's so fun. The messages behind it are still really there, still really strong. Like this one sort of focuses on how she's going to really struggle to live this almost sort of double life that she's developing for herself by trying to sort of hide her identity, and how her lives are crossing over, and the dangers of how she might get caught out for being who she is by hiding it. And yeah, this is being such a fun read, and I wasn't expecting to love this series as much as I have, but I'm so glad I picked it up now. And I can't wait to find out what else I discover via Kindle Unlimited over the next few weeks. When I'm done with my Kindle Unlimited service, like the trial, I will be cancelling just because I don't feel like I currently need it, although I may pick it up again in the future. And I may also do a review of my experience and sort of review whether I think it's worth it, because I know a lot of people probably aren't sure whether it's worth it or not. So if you've ever considered Kindle Unlimited, let me know whether you'd like to see that review. So now on to what I'm currently reading. My current Kindle read is The Sixth Window by Rachel Abbott. And this is a psychological thriller that really starts off with like quite a punch from the very beginning. Basically, this woman's husband gets knocked down and killed while walking his dog in the very first, like in the prologue. And I'm thinking there's got to be more to this than meets the eye, because she, since then, like something like, I think we're like 18 months later now, she has moved in with this, like her husband's best friend. They are dating. She all of a sudden is having real trust issues with him though, and so I'm really wondering where this is going to go. She found him in a compromising position with her daughter Scarlett, and it's difficult to know whether she's blowing this all out of proportion or whether actually she has reason to be suspicious. I'm really, really wondering how this book's going to go. I'm only 13% in, so time will tell. Now that we are in the new year, I have started a new audiobook, and that is The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks. I'm about 43% of the way through this, which I'm quite impressed with. 43% through a way of a 26-odd hour audiobook really isn't bad going for me, and I'm enjoying it. I'm not loving it though. Basically, many people compare this to The Lord of the Rings, and considering that I've never been able to even sort of get through The Lord of the Rings, I'm at least getting on with this better than that. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the plot. I'm just not feeling a very strong attachment to the characters so far is my main issue. But maybe that will come in the next half of the book. Who knows? And my current physical book is The Goblet of Fire, which is of course the 4th book in the Harry Potter series. And I'm only a little way into this. I'm like 50 pages in, so not far. But I'd forgot how long this one really sort of takes to get going. Like, I'm on chapter 5 and I've just gone to the Weasley's house. It's still the summer. And obviously from there we'll be going to the Quidditch World Cup. So yeah, this one's taking a while to get going. It's definitely not one of my favourites in the series. It's possibly my least favourite after Chamber of Secrets. I'm not sure. But again, it's been years since I've properly read this one, so I am well up for it. So with all that going on, I'm still going to pick another book out of my TBR bag because I have actually managed to read one as well this week. Being a Boy by Dawson was one of the books I picked out of my TBR bag late last year, so we're making progress. I think it's worth noting that I've also started putting classics into this bag. I'm sort of adding a few at a time. I want to get through more classics this year, and so, yeah. I've just been shoving them in as and when I can be bothered in the hope that I'll pick a few out this year. Oh, I'm so excited. I have no clue what this book's actually about, but I'm so excited. I've owned this book for years and years, and basically I've pulled out a Stephen King book, and I've been wanting to read some Stephen King for so long, and now I've got the perfect chance. I don't know what this one is, but yeah, I'll quickly look it up. So this is Revival by Stephen King. Fantastic. It's one of his horrors. That's good. I literally have no idea what this is really about. Its reviews seem a bit all over the place. Most people loving it, but then Emily, for example, hated it, DNF'd it. But yeah, reviews seem a bit all over the place for this one. So this is set in the early 60s, it would seem. In a small New England town in the early 60s, a shadow falls over a small boy playing with his toy soldiers. Jamie Morton looks up to see a striking man, the new minister. Charles Jacobs, along with his beautiful wife, will transform the local church. The men and boys are all a bit in love with Mrs. Jacobs. The women and the girls, including Jamie's mother and beloved sister, feel the same way about Reverend Jacobs. With Jamie, the Reverend shares a deeper bond based on their fascination with simple experiments in electricity. Then tragedy strikes the Jacobs family. The preacher curses God, mocking all religious belief, and is banned from the shocked town. Jamie has demons of his own. In his mid-30s, he is living a nomadic lifestyle of bar band rock and roll. Addicted to heroin, stranded, desperate, he sees Jacobs again as showman on stage, creating dazzling portraits in lighting, and their meeting has profound consequences for both men. Their bond becomes a pact beyond even the devil's devising, and Jamie discovers that revival has many meanings because for every cure there is a price. So this is a rich and disturbing novel that spans 5 decades on its way to the most terrifying conclusion Stephen King has ever written. It sounds a bit hardcore. Like, that description sounds a bit hardcore. How many pages is this? Only 405. Oh, I thought there would be like some great big massive thing. Not that 405 short, but like, it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. I would definitely be giving this quite a priority, and we'll get into this in the next couple of weeks because I've been so desperate to pick up a Stephen King for so long. If you have read this book, please let me know what you think of it, and indeed whether it will make an okay start in my Stephen King journey. If it's an absolutely terrible place to start, then let me know what I should read instead. I'll read that, then I'll read this. But I really just want to get stuck into some Stephen King, and I'm glad I've finally got the chance. So thank you so much for watching this really long and gross looking video. I just really wanted to start the new year off in the proper way and not miss my very first weekly reading wrap up, especially when I read so much. I'm so happy with how my reading is going this year, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the year is going to go. Let me know what you've read recently, whether you've read any of these books, whether you want to read any of these books, and yeah, just drop me a comment down below. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe by clicking the image of me just so if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me. And I will see you soon. Bye bye.